It's kksongs.org, and then songs/t/ and then it is the title of the song is tuwā pade a minati more. Minati more. And it starts out, prabhu hey, prabhu hey. I've been trying to figure out melody to go with this, but anyway, we'll just do our morning melody. And, oh. Okay, I'm reading the text from another machine and still looking. Well, here's the URL. All right, let's see if we can do this. The difficult line is the first one because it's a sort of preliminary. Prabhu he tuwā pade minati more. Prabhu he tuwā pade minati more. Tuwā pada-pallava tyajato maru-mana vishama vishai bhelo bhora tuwā pada-pallava tyajato maru-mana vishama vishaye bhelo bhora, something like that. Hayite tākata puna nāhi milo-i puna anudina korohuň hayite tākata puna nāhi milo anudina korohuň dīna-jana-nātha tuwā hayase tumari charana mama asha dīna-jana-nātha tuwā hayase tumari charana mama asha aichanna dīna-jana nāhi milo-i tuhun more koro parasha aichanna dīna-jana nāhi milo-i tuhun more koro prasada, tuwā jana-sańge, tuwā kathā-rańge, chādaham shakala paramada, tuwā jana-sańge, tuwā kathā-rańge, chādaham shakala paramada, tuwā dhāma-māhe, tuwā nama-gato, Gowaya bun divā-niśi asa, tuwā dhāma-māhe, tuwā nama-gato, Gowaya bun divā-niśi asa, tuwā pada-chāyā, parama-suśitala, Māge Bhaktivinoda tuwā pada-chāyā, parama-suśitala, Māge Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Haribo, 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 bhor, Haribo, Nitai, Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur, Haribo, 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 Haribo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Subhadra Baladeva ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundara ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura ki jai. So briefly, the translation. At your feet, soft as new-grown leaves, I offer this humble prayer. Those feet shelter the fallen souls who burn from the heat of material existence. But I gave up their shelter, and now my mind, scorched by the fire of worldliness, has dried up like a desert. Let's see if we can identify some of the words. This is addressing the Lord, and again, we're still in the section Dainya of Saranagati, so expressing humility, and Bhaktivinoda is addressing the Lord with tuwā, this familiar form. Tuwā pada-pallava, your feet are like delicate young leaves. And then he says, my mind is scorched by the fire of worldliness. Vishama vishaye. Vishaya means can mean sense gratification from Vishaya. Vishaya means objects of the senses. So it can come to mean sense gratification, worldliness. Yeah. Maru-mana. Tyajato maru-mana. I gave up their shelter. Tyajato maru-mana. I'm not sure maru-man. Man means mind. Maru. Okay, second verse. I find no strength to go on, and thus I spend my days lamenting. My only desire now is for your lotus feet, O Lord of the meek and humble. Lord of the meek and humble, dīna-jana-nātha. Nātha is Lord. Dīna, I think we talked about this, means the lowly or wretched. Here, meek. And jana means persons, people. Tuwā kathā-rańge. I think this part is not translated here. The relish, the sweetness of your katha, chādahūn shakal pramad. I became mad from giving up all of this, something like that. Aichan dīna-jana, kohi nāhi not meeting, mila, tuhun more koro parashad. Oh, wait, I'm on the wrong one. Sorry. Utayite tākata, puna nāhi milo-i. Anudin korohuń hutash. I guess this is spending my days lamenting. Anudin, day by day. Korohuń hutash, huta asha. Din hinata tuhun kahayasi. Tumari charana mama asha. My hope is your lotus feet. And then the third verse, has there ever been a soul as forlorn as me? Forlorn means miserable. Aichan means such. Dīna-jana. Has there been anyone as dīna, as wretched, as forlorn as me? Kohi nāhi milo-i. Tuhun more koro parashad. Association of your devotees. Give me the association of your devotees. For by tasting the pleasure of hearing your pastimes. Okay, here we go. Tuwā jana-sańge, tuwā kathā-rańge. By tasting the pleasure of hearing your pastimes. Chadahuń shakala paramad, pramad. Pramada, mada, madness, pramada, great madness. Paramada, paramad. I will give up all evils. And then the last verse, one hope animates my soul, to spend day and night in your divine abode, singing your holy name. Tuwā dhāma-māhe, tuwā nam gauto, gowaya bun, divā-niśi asha. So asha means hope. Divā-niśi means day and night. Gowaya bun, singing, I think. And tuwā dhāma-māhe, in your abode. And then your tiny servant Bhaktivinoda begs a place in the delightful cooling shade of your feet. Tuwā pada-chāyā parama sushitala mage Bhaktivinoda dasa. So chāyā means shade, and pada-chāyā, the shade of tuwā, of your feet. Parama sushitala, that are supremely cooling. This time of year in India is very hot. And so when the moon is shining in the night, it's refreshing. Mage Bhaktivinoda das. Mage begs. And here the translator is translating das as tiny servant. So not just servant, but tiny servant. Yeah. So this is, I'm not sure if there are more songs to this section, but we might notice the theme or the mood of hope that is there. On the one side, there's a sense of hopelessness. I am so much separated from you. But the word asha comes, well, at least 2 times. And Bhaktivinoda is saying there is hope, but the hope, there's only one hope. So his hope is very focused. He's not, his his hope is not many-branched. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks about bahusaka hi anantascha buddhayo avyavasainam, those whose intelligence or discrimination, buddhi, is bahusaka, is splayed, has many branches, in contrast to those of single focused intelligence. So here Bhaktivinoda Thakur is having single focused hope. There's one hope. What is that hope? The shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. But within that hope, or as a component of that hope, he wants to have association with devotees, and specifically with that association, it's possible to get kathā-rańge, the relish of hearing the katha, the stories of the Lord. And what will be the result of that? Chadahum shakala paramad. From that, I'll be able to give up all my, literally, my madness. And there are elements of praise, of glorification of the Lord. His lotus feet are sushitala. They're not just shitala, but sushitala. They're very cooling. And his katha, as we just mentioned, has this powerful effect of relieving the burning fire of worldliness that he mentions in the first line. So, of course, this is still in the first section of Saranagati, and that means it's a good thing that there is some hope, because if we were saying only hopelessness, then we might wonder, what is the point? Why so many songs about hopelessness? Why go on lamenting? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is not going to endlessly lament, but he is expressing this in the beginning. This last week, a devotee wrote to me asking how to understand Bhaktivinoda Thakur's lamentation. Are we to understand that he is really speaking about himself when he's describing himself as being so fallen and so hopeless and so having performed so many evil activities and so on? So I said that two things. We don't have to assume that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has had all these terrible experiences. But on the other side, and of course we can understand that he is representing the conditioned soul and doing this in a very comprehensive way. But my feeling is that also he is genuinely feeling this. He is not just speaking superficially, but he is speaking from the heart. And someone will say, but how can this be if Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is an eternally liberated soul? And so on. So one possible comparison here is with a comment by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the pastime of Lord Krishna as Damodar. In Damodar Leela, as we all know, little Krishna is making a lot of mischief, and Mother Yashoda is very much being a duty-conscious mother, and in her duty consciousness, she chases after Krishna. And I don't know if it's in the Bhagavatam that she's holding a stick, but it's mentioned in some translation that she's carrying a stick. So, and Krishna is described as being very fearful, with tears coming from his eyes. He is fearful. So the question comes, was he really fearful, or was he just putting on a show of being fearful? After all, he is the supreme, all-knowing, all-powerful personality of Godhead. Where's the question of fear? He is the source of fear, for fear personified, death, and so on. And he says in Bhagavad Gita, Kalosmi lokakshaya krit pravidha. I am all-devouring death. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura says, no, Krishna genuinely feels fear. He is actually feeling fear. And how is that possible? Because he has, so to speak, handed control over to Yoga Maya. Yoga Maya is in charge in the spiritual world, in Krishna Lila, for making all the arrangements so that Krishna can completely absorb himself. He doesn't have to think, okay, now I should act fearful because, okay, I'm now thinking I'm acting like a little boy, and so a little boy, if he's chased by his mother, must be fearful. Okay, I will act fearful. No, he doesn't have to go through any such mental arrangements because everything is being worked out. Everything's being worked out by Yoga Maya. So, where was I? Yeah, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in a kind of parallel way, I want to suggest Bhaktivinoda Thakur may be genuinely feeling this lamentation, this helplessness, and so on. And therefore, he's expressing from the heart. Okay, Hare Krishna, Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. So, do we have any show and tell today?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, we have Mataji Shri Prada is about to present.
Oh, yes. Yes, good.
So she's the only presenter.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Shri Prada. Speaking all the way from Almviks Gård, Sweden.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Yes, I will be showing you just like this. Not too much showing. But so I had done this work. It was a master thesis that I defended last month. And it was on the Interreligious Council of Stockholm. So it's a little bit looking into how that works in practice, what is happening. And I don't know if I can maybe show you just a little bit, but there is kind of list of things we had been looking through. And in the first part, I had been mainly presenting similar things that Maharaj has already been speaking about, different definitions and different things that are important to be aware of and think about. And then I had been presenting the council itself, which is currently having 18 different religion groupings from Stockholm. And that's in reality a very small percentage of all the groupings of religions that are in Stockholm. But there are some. And all the main religions are still represented. There is Christianity, there is Buddhism, there is Hinduism, there is Islam. So they are all there. And then I look a little bit into the basis of which I am formulating this thesis. And this is Orton's questions, where he is suggesting that if we should discuss how interreligious dialogue works, then we should look a little bit in who is there, who is missing, and other elements. So I had made a little interview with some of those who were interested and who had a little time to do so, and analyzed according to those questions. And I think that which was most interesting is that it kind of confirms that which Orton is claiming, and that is that devotees of different religions who are involved in interreligious dialogue are themselves believing in it. They are often the ones who were initiating that inclusion and in work on interreligious dialogue in their own religions, and who were the ones who said, yes, let's join this council. And they find that the council itself is for them like kindred spirits. They feel well working with them, but they do recognize that in their own groupings, sometimes that is not yet well recognized. And ISKCON is a member of this grouping, and even our representative has said that she has on occasion been told that this is not a very interesting or very right thing when she was trying to inform about other religions. So there is that tension still that perhaps needs to be addressed. And all of those that I spoke with say that this is kind of that which council is there for, to help us to develop that understanding and will to recognize others, because they believe, and they have quoted and presented how that is so, that all these religions do have as a core, or at least as a part of their religious practice and philosophy, that interreligious dialogue is a right thing to do, and that we have to work with others and support them. So my final suggestion was that since this is a very young council, it has been like 3 years in making, and maybe of these 18, 5 to 6 people are fully active, that they might look a little bit into how generally group works, so how to bring more people in, but also to actually look at those things that are differences between our religions in general. As we were hearing from Maharaj, that they are those who are fundamentalists and they say nothing works. And then we have inclusivists or pluralists who are ready to kind of include these other religions, either by looking from our religion or really accepting that we are all having the similar paths. So that element there maybe needs to be addressed, and they have all said that right now they have not been ready to do that. So when I was kind of mentioning that particular approach, I had quoted Yadunandan Maharaj when he was talking in his book on sannyas. I don't know how many. Maharaj is of course familiar with it, but I just thought I would end with his quote.
Hare Krishna Mataji?
Yes?
May I have one request, because I'm translating to Polish devotees, and I'm not able to
translate as fast.
Yeah. So if you can, speak a little bit slower, then I would appreciate.
Okay. I will just, yes, of course, I'm very sorry.
Yeah, because those are very interesting things, and I can't follow.
I do have a script of what I said, so I could send it maybe later to you or something.
Yeah, that would be nice, but it's better if just a little bit.
Sure, no worries. I will just read what Yadunandan Maharaj writes in the book. Maharaj says, I purposefully chose, however, to primarily focus on the thorny issues, because it is the human nature to avoid or to deny painful topics instead of looking at them in a constructive, self-critical manner. The Sri Ishopanishad explains that the paths of knowledge and ignorance should be understood and cultivated in parallel lines. And that was what I shared and what I was kind of pointing out. It is good that we do look in those things that maybe we are still a little bit fearing and are aware of we don't work well with, in a nice and a cooperative way, so that we can create that better world that they are all aiming for. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Shri Prada. And what's the next step?
We will see. Right now there is a lot on Almvik, and we are not having, usually we would have more guests during summer to help a little, but now we are a little less, and one Mataji had gone to Göteborg from our deity department. So I'm a little bit more engaged there for summer, and then we will see.
Okay. All right. Shishi Pancha Tattva Ki Jai.
Jai.
Almvik's guard, the presiding deities are Pancha Tattva. Okay. Was there anyone else who wanted to show and or tell something this time?
No, Guru Maharaj, not that I know. Maybe if some devotees want to sign up now.
Last minute sign up. No pressure. We just want to, encourage whoever would like to say something. Maybe if not this week, next week. I have a couple of announcements or mentioning from myself. One is I would request all devotees to pray for the safety of an operation that's coming up in about 3 hours for Mathura Mandala Devi in Buenos Aires. It's a rather major surgery, I guess, hysterectomy. Doesn't sound like anything fun. So prayers are welcome. And on a quite different subject, some good news I'm happy to report is that we just got news yesterday from Beijing, from Prema Sarovara, who has been working on translation of my book, The 18 Yogas of the Bhagavad Gita, that we now have full permission from the Chinese government to publish this book. This has been a little bit back and forth. We thought we had it all worked out several weeks ago, and then suddenly, whoops, some problem came up, and the government said we needed to present an argument. We needed to give a good reason why this book should be published. And so there was consultation. I think in a way the main credit for success goes to the editor of the publishing house, which is Yunnan University Press. They published this first book of mine, which I think most of you know about. A very, very nice man who's just has amazing determination. So he helped, he prepared this argument for why the book should be published. And Prema Sarovara also contributed. And she asked me for also some points, so I gave 1 or 2 points. anyway, somehow it seems to have worked, and apparently we have, you know, when we have the book in our hand, then we'll know for sure. But it looks now like it's green light. This book is, it'll be a small book. The main portion is what I'm calling the 18 yogas of Bhagavad Gita. It's a summary of each of the 18 chapters of the Gita with a focus on yoga in each of them, taking the classical titles of each of the chapters. And by the way, we're going to be also preparing a online, I think it's going to be 20 sessions with Mandarin translation for Chinese people on this subject. We're going to be discussing Bhagavad Gita chapter by chapter with an introduction and a conclusion. And one devotee, Chandrika Radha Mataji in Beijing, has a web platform where she'll be making that available. Anyway, that's a longer project. I guess we'll be doing over the next weeks. Sita Rani in Hong Kong is going to be helping with that, and Vraja Rani in Hong Kong is already helping. She's preparing some PowerPoints for it with Chinese. What we're doing for that is each lecture I will have just a small number of verses from the particular chapter, which I've selected, like 4 to 6 verses. And each of these we're going to have prepared with the Chinese translation in advance so everyone can see. So that's happening. What else is happening? In the world of cow protection, I might mention, I just got an email yesterday from Sitaram Prabhu in the UK. Sitaram Prabhu has been running this program called Ahimsa Milk. They now have 40 cows, and yes, Vraja Dhammananda is there. He quit his city job, and he's moved about a year ago. Maybe it's more than a year ago, with his whole family there near Leicester, and they are just so completely happy being there, taking care of cows. So this program is showing a lot of success. A lot of people are showing interest, and Sitaram said he's been getting so many letters from people asking for information how to create such a project themselves. And so what he and others have decided is they are going to be designing a course, basically how to start a Go Raksha program. So, and that's with consultation with Rasamandala Prabhu, my godbrother, who is very learned and expert specifically in the field of education and educational course design. That's his kind of expertise. So he's going to be helping with that. Yeah, so these things are happening in our little world. Hare Krishna. Oh, maybe I should mention one other thing related to Go Seva. Some of you may have seen this photograph I posted, or it was posted, and then I copied it to the Facebook site. It's a picture which shows a few of us devotees together with His Holiness Bhakti-Charu Swami, the late Bhakti-Charu Swami, and I'm also there. This was a meeting we had in Mayapur, and well, meeting, it was more of a ceremony in which one of the devotees you see in the picture is His Holiness Smita Krishna Maharaj, whose base is Ambik. And Smita Krishna Maharaj has been the, I don't know the technical name, the person in charge for overseeing cow protection in Europe. So the regional minister, perhaps. And so Smita Krishna Maharaj decided he wanted to retire from that position. And for the time being, and everything is temporary, but this may be, I don't know how long it will be, but for the time being, I am taking up that responsibility on his behalf. And Smita Krishna Maharaj is now the first member of what's called what is it called? The Assembly of Elders of the Ministry of Cow Protection and Agriculture. So the idea is that he is still available for giving advice and so on. And in any case, giving his blessings for the ongoing cow protection and agriculture projects in Europe. So I've been put in this position, which is sort of like throwing someone into the deep end of the swimming pool. And now I have to figure out how to swim. I have to learn what it is. I don't even know what I need to know. So it'll be interesting, and I'm happy to have this service, to be connected with the devotees who are actually engaged in taking care of cows and agriculture. And I should mention gardening, because we heard about gardening last week from Nira Lalita, home gardening. And yeah, we just heard from Sri Prada, there's a lot of gardening going on at Almviksgård. So anyone else here doing gardening? Anyone else keeping a cow in your backyard? Okay. Right. On that note, I guess we could go on to continue our seminar. And for this, can we enable the screen sharing, please? Oops. Okay. And all right, here we go. Share. And here we go again. Okay. We continue our discussion. This is how many times now we've been discussing dialogical Vaishnavism. We just heard from Sri Prada a interesting study on the practice in the city of Stockholm of an interfaith group, which is, if I understood, Sri Pradakan correct, this is in a sense sponsored by the city or in some way supported by the city of Stockholm.
Actually not. That is one of the issues, that they don't have very much support from the local commune, but it is created and very much supported by the Church of Sweden. They are the ones who had started the whole project.
Okay.
So it is the Church of Sweden, and then they contacted the Hindu, and I think after that Buddhist group, and then the Islam group joined. Then ISKCON was kind of connected with the Hindu group, so we were there already in the beginning of the creation. So it's they call it a grassroots because they feel there for themselves as a grassroots organization. Yeah.
Okay. Well, grassroots is very good. Sometimes the best dialogues happen from the grassroots instead of from the top of organizations. So just a little bit of review. We're still discussing, these are points that are within, have been included in the pamphlet on the official ISKCON statement on interfaith dialogue. And this is part 4. It's just elaborating, as is written here, principles and guidelines for approaching people with faith in God. So we talked about these kind of obvious principles, we might want to say, but humility, the unlimited nature of Krishna, honesty, then respect and tolerance. I think we talked about all of these last time. Then from there, here it's perhaps applying a bit more a sense of practicality, consideration of time, place, and circumstance. We can say this is a general principle of Vaishnava ethics, desha, kala, patra. Desha means place, kala means time, and patra means receptacle. Here it says circumstance. Receptacle can mean a particular person or group of persons. It's kind of an inclusive term for all sorts of things. So circumstances is good. So it says, use your common sense and discretion to develop relationships. Be sensitive to your partner in dialogue or your audience. Common sense, sometimes we wonder whether there is common sense being used by devotees. It's a very valuable capacity, valuable thing to use. Obviously, this is a very general term. What is common sense? Well, I don't know if we want to try to define common sense right now, but perhaps a readiness to use our intelligence as we have it, not necessarily tied down or restricted by what we think is right or wrong according to Shastra and so on. I guess a good Sanskrit word for common sense, or an aspect of common sense, is vijnana. There's jnana and there's vijnana. Sometimes vijnana is translated as wisdom, and wisdom means the ability to apply knowledge according to time, place, and circumstance. This can also be a matter of what we might call a sixth sense, and by I don't mean the mind as the sixth sense, but a sort of higher sensitivity to what to say, what not to say, what to do, what not to do. But I think a general principle here is just human friendliness, a readiness to relate with others as human beings. We're all conditioned souls. We're all in this world together. We're all in the same boat together, so to say. And from that perspective, we can relate with others in a nice way, which people will appreciate. Mutual understanding, be prepared to listen to others. We've talked about this. It's a novel concept for some. To understand their language, assumptions, culture, and values. Therefore, do not judge others' practice by our ideals. So I think one of the skills that we need in any dialogical engagement, and this can be also, it can be something more formal, it can be something informal, it can be with people outside of our tradition, it can be with people in our own community, is a kind of ability to, how to put it, to position ourselves outside ourselves, it's a kind of mindfulness, one might say, in which we become observant of our own mental processes, and we can also be observant of others in a non-judgmental way. To be judgmental is often based on insecurity. If we are insecure about our own identity, our own position, anything about ourselves, and then we're likely to be more hasty in judging others in a negative way. And of course, as soon as we are making judgments, we are closing off, especially negative judgments, we are closing off the possibility of a wider appreciation of another person. We can take this to extremes. Sometimes we hear stories, I've read cases, and it's amazing to think about, but this gets into the whole subject of forgiveness, which is a whole nother topic. But I've read of the case of forgiveness. We've also heard it on the news sometimes. Even some years back, a mass killing in America, where several people, I think including children, were killed by someone coming in and just shooting. And then the people, was it the Amish? Somebody can maybe remember this better. The Amish were victims, and they forgave these people. But also individuals where someone has killed some relative, and then that relative has later on officially, not just officially, but actually forgiven the person. Why are they forgiving? It must be because they have a broader sense of what that person is about. Okay, so I won't linger on this. Let's keep moving. Personal realization. We must sincerely cultivate our own spiritual realizations in Krishna consciousness. If we are to effectively represent the Sankirtan movement, try to speak from personal example and realization. Sharing will be more effective if it comes from personal realization. We talked about this last week, and as I remember, Jalangi reminded us that Bhaktivinoda Swami has emphasized this point. I remember him saying, any preaching, or the only good preaching is preaching that's based on realization. And we may say, why is this? Well, because when we are sharing realization, we are it's sharing. And sharing is naturally something people will be open to. People will naturally open up to an experience of someone else sharing. In general, this will be the case. It's mentioned here, effectively representing the Sankirtan movement. So this is, of course, in the context of this this pamphlet, which is very much in the context of ISKCON communications. And ISKCON communications, very broadly speaking, I don't know if it's their official definition of or mission statement. I think it's something like that. That ISKCON communications purpose, its aim, is to develop or to create conditions which are favorable for the Sankirtan movement. And that can be one way of thinking about dialogue, any sort of dialogue on any level. It's creating favorable conditions so that we can chant Hare Krishna. And we can also think of the Sankirtan movement in broader terms, not just of the Hare Krishna chanting Hare Krishna, but of other groups doing their chanting, their singing, their glorification. And this is, I think, a very nice platform on which to share. This reminds me of what happens every year, or has happened in let's see now with new conditions, but in Hong Kong, I think I've told some of you, every year, since several years, the devotees have Ratha Yatra on Christmas Eve. And the reason they do it on Christmas Eve is because at that time, thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people are out on the streets of Hong Kong, in particular in the area of the temple, which is Tsim Sha Tsui. And the police rope off a large area so that there is no traffic of cars and so on. So people can just walk everywhere in a very relaxed way. And the devotees got permission, city permission, to have Ratha Yatra on this evening. And I've been 2 or 3 times there during the Ratha Yatra, and it's interesting. You see, there are many Christian groups of people singing choruses. They're singing Christmas carols along the road, and it's quite nice. And the devotees come along, and we're sort of disrupting things with our kirtan. And the Christians, of course, think we're all crazy. And they turn up the volume of their amplifiers when we go by. So there's a bit of competition there. But devotees told me that actually the devotees started it first. There were no Christian groups out doing this until after the devotees started having Ratha Yatra. So it was all inspired by Krishna. Yeah, and of course the musical traditions of different groups, of different religious traditions they can be incredible. They can be really amazing. I'm a big fan myself of choral music, sort of classical choral music. I think can be incredibly powerful. I remember a few years back, there was a lady who was with the devotees in Ljubljana, and she was, I guess she was a music teacher, and she organized several of the temple devotees into a 4-part choir, and they were rehearsing to chant one really very sweet melody of the Maha Mantra in 4 different parts, and it was so good. Do you remember that, Audarya Chandrika?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I remember that this was Barbara, and I still have video recordings of that. Video recorded, yes.
Maybe that's something you could share next time.
Okay, why not? I hope I will find it, Guru Maharaj.
If you can find it.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Speaking of that, I've also thought sometimes, of course, dancing is an integral component of our tradition in Sankirtan. There's so much description of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing, where were they with the video cameras when Lord Chaitanya was dancing? How come we don't have a record of that? But I've often thought that the different folk dance traditions of Europe could be sort of what's the word? Re-engaged for kirtan. Some of them are very nice. I actually took a course in my university many years ago in folk dancing. No, we were actually dancing. It was a physical education department course. And I got 1/2 of a credit. A regular course was, you would get 3 credits or 4 credits. And this was a half credit course. Yeah, and I remember one time we had Shravana Ramaniya show us some Macedonian folk dance for kirtan. So I don't know, I think that could be developed. But again, now we have this whole situation of social distancing, so I don't know. Screen dancing. Yeah, right. Okay. Anyway, personal relationships. The Vaishnava tradition rests on sincere personal relationships. We can live without the philosophy, the ritual, and the institution, but we cannot live without our loving and serving relationship with Krishna and his devotees. So we could discuss this a lot, I'm sure. Certainly an important point, and this ties in with the sharing of realization experience from the previous point. If we have loving, friendly relationships amongst us devotees, then that will reflect outward, and people will be attracted to that. They will be inclined to also develop relationship with us. And another point is, and some of you may have, I'm sure you all have your own experiences in this regard. Developing a friendly relation, a friendship with persons who may not, they may, how to say, they may have some attraction to Krishna consciousness, but they're not going to become what we would call full-time devotees, at least not as far as we can see, maybe for some time. And one might conclude, if one is more immature, one may conclude, oh, this person's not becoming a devotee. I'm not interested in maintaining any relationship with them. I think that's a less mature position. And of course, we've discussed, there's Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama, Adhikari positions. I think what we're looking for in general is the Madhyama Adhikara qualifications. And in this, on this level, it is appropriate to pursue friendly relations with others, whatever their position might be. And this can happen over long periods of time. I always like to refer what I learned from His Holiness Achinandana Swami, I've seen him over the years develop friendships with people that he carries on for years, and he'll spend a lot of time with certain people because he genuinely wants to share with them. And these people have a huge appreciation of him, take him very much into their lives. And in this way, they become affected, they can become significantly transformed. Now, we may say, well, I don't really have much time for that sort of thing. I'm just trying to chant my 16 rounds and, wake up the deities and offer arti and, tell me all about this keeping relationships. Well, yes, these are but if we see this as something of value for ourselves as much as for others, then Krishna may help us to recognize when it makes sense, when it's a good thing for us to pursue such friendly relations. And then on the short term, if there is some interfaith dialogue event, we can just have this as a kind of priority in our minds. As we go into the event, we may particularly keep in mind, who is there here in this assembly that I could make friends with? Maybe one person, maybe two people in particular. We'll be friendly with everyone, but we might make more of a connection with one or two or however many others. Okay. Now, this time I'm thinking, instead of continuing on right away, I'm thinking, let's take a little pause and see if anyone wants to comment. Oh, I just saw there's something called pause share. It just came up in this, there it is, pause share. Okay, now if I go here, oh, how come that doesn't go full screen? Doesn't go full screen. Oh, I wanted to see the, oh wait, chat. Does that work? I'm looking for the chat function. I click chat, but I don't see chat. So how about we do like this? I'm going to resume share.
Guru Maharaj, I think you'll have to stop sharing, then you can continue it.
Well, what I wanted to suggest is maybe if anyone has written something, then you could just read it out and we can go from there. And if no one has written something, then if anyone wants to say something, then that's also possible. Dira Lalita wants to say something.
Yes, Jessica. Also, Ramananda Gopal Prabhu. He also wants to share.
Okay. All right. So go ahead.
Ramananda Gopal Prabhu, can you unmute your microphone?
Haribo. You hear me? Haribo?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah, seems like we all quite lots on this interreligious dialogue, and this is a very good. It's a very good statement what you said, that we have to maintain relationships. And I just wrote in the chat that it's very important that we keep relationships with the people surrounding us, because otherwise we can keep or cultivate a relationship with the Lord. And yeah, it's kind of, with devotees, is always a little bit, well, I would not say difficult, but Krishna also uses the devotees, of course, to, in my experience, to purify us. So it's always sometimes a little bit challenging atmosphere sometimes. But this shows us also how we're not able to relate to people who are very close to us, like the devotees, like in the family. So I think we really have to work on that. And with this interreligious dialogue, we have, or I'm part of a dialogue in Passau, what is a bigger area, and this is all maintained by the Catholic Church. And then we have, we created a interreligious friend circle, kind of, and this is more people who are surrounded here in the area. And we have, there are 4 groups or 4 different sections. There's the evangelic or Protestant, as you call a Protestant preacher, who is also in the minority here, and because all mostly Catholic. And then we have Baha'i family from the Baha'i tradition. And we have something that's called unity of man. It's also some kind of Indian way, but it's more related to Sikhism. But they are all Germans. I mean, they're also from Germany here. And it's, we kind of meet in families. So when we meet each time in a different people's home. Of course, now it's a little bit. It's also, we meet now on Zoom. Sometimes it's not working so well because everybody appreciates the personal presence of each other. But in this way, we created kind of a very friendly family relationships with all of them. And it's very, it's a very loving exchange. And one really appreciates, and in this way, I learned so much from their realizations, and it also challenges me in my own understanding of my tradition, and it also teaches me how to present in a very sensitive way our points of philosophy, for example, but also like personal relationships. And as I can see that this this little Sangha, what we have there, is growing more and more into a like a friend circle. It's much more easier to communicate and to bring our points together, and it's not, it's not as a presentation. It's more like a conversation. For example, when my wife and the kids are there, so the girls or the ladies speak with each other and share the realizations, and the men, of course, and it teaches me much more than this bigger group in Passau, what we have there, maybe like sometimes 80 people or something like that. And of course, it's not so easy to present in length our philosophy, our points. Is more that we are there, and it's more institutional. So yeah, this what I want to say, this friendly circle what we had is much more pleasurable, and it's much more effective for in the religious dialogue. So I think friends, make friends with them, as you said, the example of Satchinanda Maharaj, making friends with people is much more easier to preach, my opinion.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, that's a very nice, it's a nice idea. I think this is something we can tell more people about, the idea of friend circles meeting in family houses once the COVID virus thing passes. Yeah, very good. Thank you. Dear Lalita.
Good morning, everyone. The thing that I actually want to ask a question. So in my experience, not only with people with other faith, but with devotees with whom I was friends for many, many years, and then they sort of distanced themselves for various reasons from our institution, and I'm still in touch with them. And my experience is, actually I was determined not to give up on them, because they've done so much service and so much sankirtan, and they know philosophy, and they're quite in mode of goodness as well. So we found the common ground. You wouldn't believe this, but the common ground was gardening. So one of them is an amazing gardener. He has got 3 or 4 allotments that he works on. And the other devotee, I call them devotees because they are highly respectful towards Vaishnavas. And now they are included in the same app as I am. That you recommended, Guru Maharaj, to be part of a grow group around London here. And he sent me a text last week saying, well, he said, I invited them to come here to see my garden and prepare some prasadam for them, and just to be like a normal person without doing any sort of preaching. And he said, I just want to cry out of joy that I could actually do something for Krishna in a way that I can actually do that. But they're all obviously older devotees, and I would like to share that with everyone, that it is sometimes difficult to be in the company of devotees who are not practitioners anymore, but who they may hold some grudge or something towards what happened to them in their practice in our society. As we know, there are so many of us or them who experience many hard things. But I would just encourage everyone not to give up on devotees like that, because they have still so much to offer. They just need someone or some environment where they can actually express their appreciation for ISKCON, and talk about things, but not on a sort of official level. And I can see now that my friends, they're still friends before, and they're still friends now, and they actually want to speak about Krishna now, and bringing me things for deities, or bringing me incense for deities. He said, oh, we don't do that, but you do it. So you offer it. So that's my experience, and it's really beautiful, and that's my little service that I can do, because I'm not really a preacher.
Well, that's preaching. That's very good. But it's also dialogue, but it's also just keeping friends. It's, it's kind of being human and keeping relationships. I completely agree. We can carry, I don't think we have to be limited within the institution. We can, somebody doesn't want to relate to the institution doesn't mean that we can't relate with them.
Yeah. Okay.
And in this way, you can, in some sense, represent the institution in such a way that they may get a new perspective on the institution that they didn't have before. They might get a broader understanding that actually the institution is only made up of people, and if we take it on ourselves to make it what it should be within our own circles, then that's something we can genuinely identify with. But yeah, people give up the more strict practices and so on. But as you said, somehow sattva guna sticks. It's hard to get rid of. It's hard to forget Krishna altogether. And you're helping them to not forget Krishna. So that's very good. Did anyone else want to comment or ask something?
And as much as Sugopitunga Vidya, then Mataji Anandamayi.
Okay.
Yes, Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Yeah, like many nice points. And today's takeaway for me is that not to be judgmental, that shows our own insecurity. And that's definitely we should try to work on. Yeah, today morning, by some Krishna's arrangement, what happened is that the temple president here called me up very early in the morning, telling that you need to speak to an American lady. Actually, she's married to a man, Indian man, whose parents are here in Gurgaon. So his parents want her to be a bit connected. They're married for a few years, 4 or 5 years. So, okay, so I had to greet someone whom I don't know, I haven't seen. So I called her up the time that was given and introduced myself, asked if she was, initially I felt that she wasn't very receptive. I knew that I have to work on it. So I asked about her and what she practices, what she does, and some informal talks, our travels. Then slowly, like she slowly started gelling with me, like she was quite interested because I was speaking something different from the subject of her interest. And eventually I came to know that she's a very sensitive lady who can understand energies. She said that she was in Stonehenge. Even I have been to see Stonehenge. So she was telling that she got shivers, like she can understand the energy or vibes of the place. And then finally, like I was discussing like what all her practices are, and then she started opening up, and in fact speaking so much. We spoke for 1.5 hours, and I was telling my spiritual journey, how it started, like from a very kind of bit of atheistic background, my dad being scientist. So it developed so beautifully, and eventually we became good friends because we shared so much. We have so much in common. Like she had really big struggle in her life because her mother had cancer when she was carrying this woman. So she couldn't go for a surgery. And in fact, for that, the cancer spread. And when she was 9, she expired. So I was, in fact, trying to appreciate her. So that way, when we communicate with the others, like appreciating their way of accepting life and the struggles. In fact, she had become atheist, like, I can't believe God because God has taken my mother away. So that way, and yeah, she's going to chant our Hare Krishna mantra. She was quite happy to speak to me, and I'm also feeling great because my real duty here is preaching. I have to speak to everyone every day. So it's good, like when we come, very nice feeling to give Krishna's name to others. And thank you very much for your very nice points. I will try to inculcate it like these points inside myself, yeah, and practice these.
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Yeah, that's an inspiring story from just today, you said, was it? Just today you spoke with this person?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so you never know.
Just today morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned
she
small...
lives in Seattle. Yeah.
Huh? You mentioned small talk as sort of starting things up. I was just going to mention that Srila Prabhupada was also expert. He could also do small talk. When guests would come, the room conversations that are recorded, some of them there's some small, what we may call small talk, because Prabhupada wanted that people feel comfortable, so he had no problem with that. Very good.
Yeah, initially, I think when we are preaching, we have to hear more from them because they have a lot to tell about themselves.
Yeah, people want to share whatever they have, so that's okay. Yeah, and therefore patience is also part of the process. Good. Okay, Ananda-mahi, you wanted to say something?
This topic reminds me some situation from Lublin center from many years. You are visiting this center, if you remember, in Lublin.
Yes, so many years ago.
Yeah, it was about 25 years ago when I was the part of this community for some time. And once visited us one monk. If I remember, it was a long time ago, but if I remember correctly, he was from America, and he was Dominican or Jesuit, I don't remember exactly. And he was simultaneously a monk, Christian monk, and also a devotee. And he said that he's chanting, he is initiated. And he was very inspiring because he said he's traveling all around Europe or the world, and he's just making the dialogue between Christians and Hare Krishnas. And this time it was unusual because this Poland was quite fanatical, and generally devotees were also very strict. But he opened, in my heart, he opened some vision of this relationship, this communication with other people. And he was also telling some his realizations that he was traveling. I don't remember, it was in USA by car somewhere, and he said, I don't know, it was where he was, I don't remember exactly, but he said, I saw Mount Meru, I just was traveling and saw this huge mountain, which is described in Srimad Bhagavatam in 5th canto. So he was encouraging us in this way to just open for everything, you know, for realizations, for opening himself for others, you know, give this knowledge. For me, I was a new devotee then, and for me it was quite a good lesson to see other people's approach of this religion, of everything. So.
Yeah, I vaguely remember, maybe this was the same person, that there was this devotee Christian monk. Was he American or was he Australian, whatever? But yeah, I remember he was a quite jolly person. This reminds me also that I guess it was 2 years ago, I was in Mayapur and I was in the temple in the temple of Shri Radha, and I don't remember how it happened, but I met, well, my godbrother Sankarshan Prabhu was there. He is a preacher based, I guess, mainly in America. And he is, he's a grihasta. He's also has disciples. And he introduced me to one of his disciples who was right there. And it turned out this gentleman was a minister, an active minister of some Christian Protestant church, possibly even Baptist. No, I think Episcopalian. I don't remember for sure. But it was really striking to me. I was trying to imagine, you know, how he's preaching to his congregation back in America. It must be, I don't know, it must be interesting. But a monk, in one sense, I can more easily imagine a monk, you know, having this sort of dual identity. But here was someone who was a minister of a church. It's like a priest. He has responsibility for a congregation. And at the same time, he was a devotee. I didn't have time. I would have liked to ask him more, you know, how do you work this out in your life? But I didn't have time. There's been there's been some scholarship in the academic side of things of people who identify themselves as part of more than one religious tradition. And I don't know if I mentioned, I had this professor, Ninian Smart. It was sort of half joking. He was Episcopalian, Protestant, Christian, but he said he liked to say that he's a Buddhist Protestant because he had spent some time in Sri Lanka. He was very inspired by what he experienced of the Buddhist culture there. So since then, he liked to identify with both. So that phenomenon of people identifying with more than one tradition is it's not impossible. In fact, in Asia, East Asia especially, this is official. I mean, people basically, I think, in the 16th century, there's Confucianism, there's Taoism, and there's Buddhism. And at some point, a movement started of combining all three. And that's now a very standard thing. They don't see any problem. There's no conflict as far as they see. It's very much in the West, we have a much more kind of sectarian sense of religion. And I don't know if we can blame it on the Abrahamic traditions, or if we should, I don't know who to blame it on. But I mean, it's been the cause of wars. You know, we've had our 30 years war between the Catholics and the Protestants, and so on. But yes, this is nice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else?
Guru Maharaj, I would like to share something if possible.
Okay.
Quickly. So basically, as you know, here living in Dhamma-Dardesh, as we like to call it, the United Arab Emirates, it's been for me, honestly, quite eye-opening experience. Since I came here 2013, I was wondering like how preaching in heavily Islamic country can be possible. Like this is pure heart of Islamic religion, and with like a very strong Islamic laws and government and everything, which is pretty strict on every possible way. So slowly I joined that, as you had a chance to meet Harinam Prabhu and his awesome project Kirtan Dubai, which was like a highly successful, especially now became extremely successful. It's been growing like a week by week, especially now in this pandemic situation. So it was like a really unbelievable how preaching can be done in such a circumstances. I mean, I've experienced it back in Croatia, which in early 90s, when we were preaching in heavily Christian-backed tradition in Croatia. So now I found myself and Adhya Chandrika, we found ourselves here in heavy Islamic-backed tradition. So what Harinam Prabhu is actually doing is he's highly inclusive. He's just giving opportunity to anyone from any religion just to come and join Kirtan Dubai. So in last few weeks, since we can't organize personal gatherings, so we have online Kirtan Dubai. It's keeping on, of course. So basically, each and every week there is a different performer, let's say, who is performing Hare Krishna Mahamantra in different tunes, in different melodies. So the last week, there was a Mariam. Mariam is one of the most famous local Emirati singers here, and she's local here, like Emirati, and that's inconceivable that she can do anything else except Islam. So she was leading the kirtan here. So she's such a she's absolutely she's become very regular attendee on Kirtan Dubai to that degree that she wanted to learn how to play harmonium, how to learn Mahamantra, and actually she was having the performance. And of course, there is a Kirtan Jordan. We have now in Jordan also. Harinam Prabhu was there in some yoga studios when they expressed desires that they want to do kirtans as well. So he went there and he made like some kind of seminar and classes of how to lead kirtans, how to lead that whole kirtan culture. So kirtan become extremely popular here. So there is a different ways to preach, not necessarily direct preaching, but Mahamantra is a perfect way to preach, and it's really the.
And in the end, Guru Maharaj, she said, "Thank you so much that I could do some seva for all of you." She said in the
end. Very nice. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I'm sure that whole project is, getting showers of blessings from Lord Chaitanya. Srila Prabhupada also said he would take, what did he say? He would take the feet of those who preach in these countries on his head. So this is there will continue to be wonders like this, no doubt. This is very good.
Yeah, and Haranam Prabhu is just doing this friendship thing. He just keep friends, friendship with the people. He doesn't preach until people approach him and ask more. So he's for some of them he had for 7 years. He slowly building friendships. So after 7 years, we have first couples and devotees on this Sanga here and so on. Initiate first initiation diksha. So just he's so patient. He's like an embodiment of patience, really, and unbelievable. Really, we can learn so much from him. Such an inspiring person.
Very good. I don't know, maybe this spoils, I don't want to spoil your point, but I've also become aware that all of this in one sense is possible because the United Arab Emirates has specifically established a policy. I don't know how official it is, but I know this from reading one scholar who, by the way, wrote his doctoral dissertation on Mayapur in anthropology. He's now somewhere in the Middle East, and he's been writing articles talking about things like this, interfaith situations in specifically in the United Arab Emirates. And as I understand what he's saying is they're purposefully keeping this policy of openness and tolerance because it's good business. You know, it keeps the commercial it keeps everything flowing. So in that sense, we can maybe thank also the government for this.
Yes, we have this year is year of tolerance. They like every year in Emirates we have a different motto. This is the year of tolerance. Everyone is like the year of tolerance. And last year it was the year of also like a very, very motivational, like the whole year is like that. We have a ministry of happiness here, so you can
I remember seeing that when I visited.
We have a happiness street here, like one of the major streets in Dubai. It's called the Happiness Street. And
of course, some people will be skeptical about this, that it just boils down to manipulation. But anyway, I think if we see it from the transcendental perspective, it's something that Lord Chaitanya allows to happen so that the holy name can be spread, people can be attracted to Krishna. So that's nice. And let's hope it stays that way.
Yes, we all hope.
Okay, maybe I just end with this slide for today, in which this principle of good behavior, again, all of these we may say are obvious, but good behavior, Srila Prabhupada writes, a devotee's behavior establishes the true purpose of religious principles. Over the last week, many devotees have been speaking about the qualities of the late His Holiness Bhaktivinoda Swami, and one of the words that comes up again and again is gentleman. He was a perfect gentleman, and all of us who knew him felt that way. And I personally, whenever I was in his presence, I felt kind of awkward because I always felt he is so refined and I'm sort of not so cultured. So anyway, good behavior. And speaking again of Bhakti Kshetra Swami, some of the glorification has come from one of the Gaudiya Math Swamis. He kept very nice relations with devotees of the different Gaudiya Maths, and they all had great appreciation of him. And again, because he behaved as a gentleman, as a well-refined person. And another example, I always come back to Anuttama Prabhu, what I've seen in interfaith dialogue situations, amazingly conscientious in seeing to it that everyone in the group is appreciated. He was always very, very good at that. Again, in a natural way, it wasn't artificial, but he could show appreciation for everyone taking part. Well, we've been sort of very gradually going through this. I hope this is continuing to be interesting for everyone. We're still only in, in the original course that I do in Mayapur. This is all part of day number 2 in a 5-day course. So we're going kind of gradually, but we're also taking our time and discussing things, whatever we feel like giving more attention to, and maybe sometimes taking little divergent digressions. Okay, so I think we can end there for today. And I wish you all a very nice coming week. And I'm not planning to go anywhere. It's actually nice to not plan. I realize I've spent my whole devotional life practically traveling and planning travel. And I can mention just this last few days ago, I spoke with my doctor, Radharadhya Prabhu in Germany, and he was very, we say, adamant, very firm, very strong, that I should not continue my plan, which was to go to America in September, because I am scheduled to present in one academic conference in November, but he said, just forget it, just don't do it. Anyway, he gave a lot of reasons. So I wrote to the organizer of the group that I would be presenting in at the American Academy of Religion, and I told him, well, just to let you know now early, I'm not going to be coming to that conference if they're going to be holding the conference. And he wrote right back and he said, well, as far as I'm concerned, they would be crazy to have this conference. Of course, he said, we want to have our panel, but we'll have to see how it will happen. Anyway, so we chant Hare Krishna. And we wish the best for everyone to keep well, keep healthy. As they say, keep safe. Okay, stop share. So, again, thank you all for joining us.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
We all have so many things to do, but you've all come together. That's very nice. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna.
Everybody.